Welcome to Talk Travel with Heather Tate, North Mississippi's podcast for savvy travelers. Talk Travel with Heather Tate is a weekly podcast that airs every Monday on the Shark 102.3 FM radio station based in Ripley, Mississippi, and is then released as a podcast. Travel advisor and travel enthusiast Heather Tate of Whimsical Destinations gives listeners expert travel tips curated through the years of personal and professional experience. By clicking subscribe, you'll have a new travel tip to add to your collection delivered to your podcast library every Monday. Talk Travel with Heather Tate is brought to you by Sun Bear Studio. Sun Bear Studio is a boutique recording studio in the heart of Ripley, Mississippi. When you record with us at Sun Bear Studio, we can mix, master, register, and publish your music, your podcast, or your family story. Email us when you're ready at sunbear@jc.media.
Good morning, Northeast Mississippi travelers. This is Heather with Talk Travel with Heather Tate, and I'm so excited to share my adventures and tried and true tips with you. Whether you are also a seasoned traveler, a hopeful traveler, or currently an armchair traveler, meaning you're going to follow along with us from home for now. I already told you last week what I was going to be talking about this week on our 153rd episode of Talk Travel with Heather Tate, and that is my favorite breakfast around the world. Breakfast is my favorite meal of the day. But unfortunately, I am the one who enjoys it the most in my entire family. Logan would rather skip breakfast and have an early lunch instead, every time. We actually had one of our most epic marital arguments walking around Dublin, Ireland, 4 years into our marriage, when he convinced me to sacrifice the delicious and historic breakfast place I had researched. I'm talking like crepes, pastries, heavy cream. I was going to have coffee and hot tea, all the extras for breakfast. Sacrifice all that instead to get lunch. Here is the issue. In Ireland, most lunch spots didn't even open until noon. So what happens is sometimes we're dragging our feet, and by we, I'm not looking at me because I'm ready to go in the mornings when I'm traveling. So it wasn't me, and it was just Logan and I on this trip, so I'll let you figure out who was dragging that morning. So it was getting really close to that window where Logan thinks, oh, it's too late for breakfast. We should just wait for lunch. And I knew we were getting close to that. And sure enough, we did. And Logan's like, I really, it's 10. I'd rather just wait and go to lunch at 11. Here's the problem. In the U.S., we can go to lunch at 10:30, but they don't do that everywhere else. So in Ireland, we found that the lunch places didn't even open until noon. So we're walking around looking for a lunch place to open at 10:30, maybe 11, and there were none when we went, and this would have been, 14 years ago. So we had to find whatever we could that opened the earliest because I was missing things throughout our itinerary that I had planned for that day, which I made up for the next day. But we found ourselves at a random noodle house in Dublin, which had not been on my list of research places to eat. It was not anything to write home about that I was excited about to share. And I still have a picture that Logan captured of me glaring at him all throughout lunch. So I'll have to share that on our Facebook group, Heather Logan Tate Whimsical Destinations, because you can see how upset I am about missing my breakfast. After that, I vowed to take back breakfast, especially when we travel. So this episode, I'm going to share some of my favorite breakfast over the years, both local and a little more jet-setting. So in no particular order, I'm just going to get started and tell you about some of these. I told you last week about one that has already made this list, and that was cream and sugar in Ayuka. So I told you I'm going to have some local places mixed in with some further away. Going from there, in Amsterdam, which I'm very excited to share this one with you, we went to a place called the Corner Bakery. It was right across from the apartment we were staying in when we went to Amsterdam the first time, and it was in the museum district. So right down the street from like the Van Gogh Museum and their big museums, city museums there. It was the most beautiful outdoor cafe. We had a group of 10 of us. So it was the 4 of us, my parents, and my best friend and her husband and their 2 daughters. So it was a group of 10. And we took up almost the entire outside of this little bakery. We had little cafe tables and stools. We were balancing all our food. We had pancakes because the Dutch know how to do breakfast well. And so I know I have some Dutch heritage because I love breakfast and I love pancakes. And so it was a perfect fit. And we had like avocado toast and perfectly poached eggs, fruit, Logan was happy because he does love to have a bagel with cream cheese and salmon, so he got to have that. So we had a wonderful breakfast. I'll never forget it. I'm actually going to share some pictures on our Facebook group of that. So I love these big elaborate breakfasts, but I also enjoy the location. So I'm okay if I get pastries and coffee when we're in Europe and we're eating them outside. Like, I prefer to eat outside whenever possible. So when we're traveling, I'm looking for a place where I can dine al fresco, and breakfast is a wonderful meal for that. But I will grab breakfast pastries and take them somewhere to eat in a park, or in this case, when we went to Paris, when London was almost 2 years old, and we had pastries right on the Seine. So to have them on the river, or to overlook the Arc de Triomphe or the Eiffel Tower, because every day we had pastries, we would pick them up right across the street from the hotel or the apartment we were staying in, and go somewhere really pretty to sit and just sit on the steps and people watch and eat our pastries. So I'm fine with something simple or something more elaborate. Like when we had brunch for my 35th birthday in Las Vegas, we were staying at Paris, Las Vegas. So I went from actual Paris, and Logan will say we spent probably more money on food in Las Vegas, at Paris, Las Vegas, than we did in actual Paris. But we ate underneath the Eiffel Tower in Las Vegas as well. And we had brunch there overlooking the Bellagio Resort and Casino and the Fountain Show. It was a wonderful brunch. And so if you go to Vegas, that's one of my favorites there. Michigan, when we've been to northern Michigan, every place we went to for breakfast had Dutch pancakes. So sometimes it's not the specific place, it's going somewhere where you can get a specific item. So as you know, I love the food in Amsterdam for breakfast. Michigan has a very strong Dutch heritage, and so they also have the Dutch pancakes as well as Aruba. They also have those. Okay, in London, so going back internationally, two of my favorite breakfasts I've ever had, we had when we were in London last August. It was a traditional English breakfast in the Tea Theatre. It was raining. It was everything you can think of as quintessential British. It was the stereotype come to life in the most beautiful way. It was raining. We walked in. There were all these little nooks and crannies with bookcases and board games, and they had cats walking around that would just hop up on a chair or a windowsill. They had cakes and covered glass platters on every table that they were getting ready to have those for lunch later on the day and afternoon tea. But you could also order them for breakfast. And I know that because Christian saw a carrot cake and had to have a slice of carrot cake for breakfast after we had our traditional English breakfast there. And, we each had our own pot of tea. It was wonderful. And then another experience we had a few days later, we were in Covent Garden, and they had an outdoor area where you could order brunch, and it was beautiful. The people watching there, the food was amazing. It was probably the best avocado toast with a poached egg I've ever had, and I don't know if I'll be able to ever recreate that, but it was wonderful. All right, let's go local a little bit. Tuscumbia, Alabama has one of the top 10 best breakfast restaurants in the country. And I wonder how many of you have been there. It is called Superhero Chefs. And when I say top 10, this is not top 10 in the South. It's top 10 in the U.S. If you have not been to Superhero Chefs yet, like when you're going to Florence and you're staying there, Muscle Shoals for the weekend, it is one of the Quad Cities. So it's in Tuscumbia. We have been here so many times now, I've lost count. If I'm going to the Marriott at Muscle Shoals, where we go every year, I put this on our list, and I do not let the boys talk me out of it. It's my favorite for breakfast locally. Charleston. Every place you go in Charleston for breakfast is wonderful. We just went here for spring break. I love Ruby Sunshine, which is a chain restaurant. So I know some people are thinking like, oh, this is not a local one, but it is delicious. They also have an Eggs Benedict that I really like. The grits, though, I will say this, the grits in Charleston are the best grits I've ever had. And so we ate brunch every day. Poogan's Porch, that's going to give you like your traditional Charleston restaurant with a ghost story as well. So if you want something that is local, only for that area, definitely put Poogan's Porch on your list. Oh, the thing about Superhero Chefs, I got to go back to really quickly. Your waffles are going to be different colors, and everything is themed as a superhero, just like it sounds. You'll go into a booth. One booth will be Spider-Man. Another will be Iron Man. We always get the Batman one. You're going to have every single superhero you can think of, and it's themed. Then you're going to have a bar area that's for the villains. So it is really fun, themed, both food and atmosphere. Okay, so from Charleston, you can't go wrong. Breakfast there just about anywhere, but I gave you some of my favorites. One that, I'm going to say IHOP, but let me just tell you, there's a disclaimer here. It was the IHOP at Niagara Falls. So we were on the 35th floor, I believe it was, maybe 33rd floor. So my view of eating my pancakes was looking down right at Niagara Falls in the background. So that is why that was spectacular. Speaking of pancakes, Billy Gale's in Branson, Missouri. They have, I think, 3 locations there. 14-inch pancakes. So if you're going to Branson, you have to put Billy Gale's on your list. It is incredible. Chattanooga, my favorite breakfast place, hands down, is Aretha Frankenstein's. This is in a historic house across the river, the side opposite where the aquarium is in downtown. And so you can only have like 6 or 7 tables. It stresses Logan out every time I want to go here because there's only 6 or 7 tables inside. It sounds just like it is, where it is very kooky. It's like it's Halloween year-round. The most amazing pancakes. They really are. They are like melt in your mouth. Killer pancakes. They're so good. I recommend you have to go there next time you're in Chattanooga. Just go very early. It's not great for big groups, but especially if it's just 2 of you, your immediate family. I would not take a group of 20 there, but it is a small, intimate restaurant that is wonderful. I believe they also have a connection with one of my other favorite breakfast places, which is Crockett's Breakfast Camp in downtown Gatlinburg. So I do think there's a connection between those, which has a lot more space. So if you're in downtown Gatlinburg, Crockett's Breakfast Camp, not only is it really cool and it's like Cracker Barrel on steroids is what it feels like when you walk in, like Davy Crockett level, where you've got the camp set up and cast iron everything. It is a really cool place. Okay, 2 more, and that's going to be it. We love Disney. Our family loves going to Disney every year. I'm just going to share with you my favorite breakfast place at Disney World, and that's Tusker House in Animal Kingdom. I tell all my guests this. It is my favorite breakfast. It is a character meal, but it's a buffet. So I would not say most buffets would make my list. I don't think any of the others have a buffet. This is my favorite for Disney. I'm just going to put the plug in there. If you know, you know. If you haven't been to Disney and you don't care about Disney, then you can just skip past that one. But if you're like, where's your favorite breakfast place in Orlando in the parks? It's Tusker House. Okay, last one. This is Atlanta, so I'm ending with another one that is pretty close. And it is called Breakfast at Barney's. I found this one just because when we were staying at the Llama Cottage a couple of years ago, I wanted a good breakfast place. It looked really pretty. Apparently, all the celebrities go here. They have a special room that is like their Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous room that no one can just go in. Like, you have to have an invitation to go in there. You have like famous people, Tyler Perry, like pictures on the wall, all these celebrities who've been here and will sign their autographs and go here. Oh, it just made me think of one that I did not put on the list, and it is the Loveless Cafe in Nashville. When I talked about celebrities, okay, that goes with it too. Right off the trace, out in Nashville, Tennessee, Loveless Cafe, best biscuits and jellies, homemade jellies, and you can watch them make the biscuits through a window. That deserves to be on my list as well. But Breakfast at Barney's, going back to it, they have this platter where things have like gold foil and caviar, and I believe it's like lobster, and it's $1,000 platter, like a breakfast tier. We did not have that, but we did have pancakes with 14-karat gold foil. And Logan said that he had one of the best meals he has ever had. And he's not a breakfast lover. He's already told me he would go back there the next time we're in Atlanta. That is all the time we have for this week's Talk Travel with Heather Tate, and it has been all about breakfast. Beautiful breakfast from near and far. Have a great week. Life is an adventure. Make those memories. Take the trip. Life is short. You won't regret it.
This show is made possible by JC Media, LLC in Ripley, Mississippi. JC Media owns the Shark 102.3 Classic Rock FM radio station where the show is hosted, and Sun Bear Recording Studio where the interviews are recorded. We need your feedback and support. If you listen to the podcast on a player like iTunes, Google Podcast, or Amazon Music, please subscribe to the show and leave us a review. We also have an email in which you can share your feedback. That email is theshark1023@gmail.com. Subscribe to our podcast on your favorite app or stream episodes online at shark1023.com/podcasts. Today's episode was produced by Melinda Marsalis. It was edited by Rick Williams and engineered by Chris Marsalis. The podcast technician is Joyce Grady.